Hi there, I'm Sonal Kapoor. This is 5 Live. Over the next 1 hour, we'll be bringing you stories that demand your time, stories that should ignite you, stories that deserve your attention. And since this is 5 o'clock, we always make it Health Clock. We make it about stories that will inspire your healthiest, happiest lives as well. So let's get started. Let's tell you first what the top 10 stories of the day are. Our top story today is going to really be one that triggers you. So I'm going to start off the show with the trigger warning straight away. The details I'm going to tell you now will make you cringe, will make your skin crawl. They are so disturbing that we deliberately actually decided not to tell you all the details altogether. We were having a debate in the newsroom over the details that we should actually carry at all. But in the end, we decided to go ahead with the story because it's important that the true face of the predator, the disgusting face of the so-called Babas who claim to be the men of faith, that has to be unmasked. So for a moment, take a pause and bear with me a little bit. Asaram Bapu, Ram Rahim, Nityananda, and now the latest so-called Baba to be exposed is that man on your screen. He calls himself Swami Chaitanyananda Saraswati, but let's call him for who he really is. He's not a god man, he's a fraud man. His name is Partha Sarthi. And what do all these Babas who I just named for you right now, what do they have in common? In the name of God, they abuse. In the name of God, they molest. In the name of God, they trick minors into trafficking. And they're getting more and more sophisticated. What's shocking is his affiliation with the reputed management institute, Sri Sarada Institute of Indian Management, where he served as a director. And he wasn't just some some random self-styled guru. He posed as a spiritual mentor, using that position to lure victims and exploit them. This institute we told you about is in South Delhi, the very affluent Vasant Kunj. That's where it is. His modus operandi, it involved grooming vulnerable people, creating fake spiritual connections, and demanding sexual favors as well, even pushing some into trafficking networks tied to Dubai sheikhs. The evidence? Well, India Today has got their hands on that. Chats obtained by the police reveal very explicit sex demands and a chilling trafficking angle. We at India Today have accessed some of these chats. It's cringeworthy to say the least. I'm not going to get into the details, but some of them you should know. In one of them, this so-called Swami is referring to one of his students as his sweetest baby, his doll daughter. In another leaked conversation, he goes on to make a very desperate plea. Without any replies, this message reads that, "Baby, where are you? Are you angry with me?" The next set of leaked texts reveal his sort of predatory persistence. When the student messaged that she was going to sleep and would call him tomorrow, he replies by saying, "You will not sleep with me? Are you upset with me? Speak." Now, this isn't just abuse. It's an organized exploitation disguised as spirituality, with people in position of power, with access to girls who are vulnerable. His repeated coercive tone underscores the disturbing pressure he placed on these women. And the frustration here is this, that these so-called godmen get away by all of this. Look at those pictures. Asaram Bapu, Nityananda, Ram Rahim, they've all been convicted, yes, but only after long delays, legal battles, and too much suffering for the victims. The inaction, slow legal process gives them little hope, no? Little hope for women who want to speak up. The law needs to move faster, strike harder on these fraudsters who hide behind religion and faith to commit these crimes. This isn't just a story about one man, it's about a system that lets them thrive. So the question really is, when will we stop turning a blind eye? When will our faith make us question, reason, not just go on for blind belief? Let's take this story, this very, very disturbing story forward with our guests. First up, joining me is Dr. Kiran Bedi, former IPS officer. Dr. Bedi, I want to start by asking you, the criminality angle of this all, the management institute he was part of, I say he was because they have washed their hands, saying that they want nothing to do with the man anymore. But can that be the case? Would you say in cases like these, they would be as liable, as responsible?
Everybody. I would not even exclude the girls, because somewhere some of them may have been gaining financially or otherwise. So I think there's something wrong. Even in their spiritual mutt, if they mutt, I don't know why. What you mean to say? Such things don't come to their knowledge. They do, but everybody seemed to be having a hand in the till. Again, it is a greed, nothing else. They fall for it for what reason? What reason? Not renunciation, not blessing. It's a greed. Somewhere there is a greed. Somewhere there is a personal interest. You are a gainer. You have to be a gainer to be silent to a crime.
Dr. Bedi, you're saying that the girls are responsible as much. I find that a little disturbing. In cases like these, I just named some of them, case after case, we've seen how witnesses have turned hostile, witnesses have gone missing, witnesses have died. We don't see a closure on cases like these. Where is the North Star then? What confidence will any victim get to actually come out and speak up? It's difficult to report.
It's not difficult if women get together. It's not difficult. Problem is only when you're only by one or two. But if you gang up together, group together, then it's not easy. Difficult. Then it's not difficult, because then you only have to tap social media on that. Social media, even anonymously, you can put on social media, name and shame him. Why not use social media? In fact, one of the biggest advantages of social media is for this purpose, to protect yourself and expose the man. Why did you not do this? I can't imagine they were also so foolish and ignorant. I'm sure they knew they could do it, but why did they keep quiet? They also are equally accountable. I'm telling you today, exposing a bad character is not difficult. You just have to put him on Instagram. And this is not defamation. It's not defamation. You can even tag the governments of the day, the positions of the day. You can tag them and it will go. Why would not? Instagram, Facebook, your Twitter, X handles, they're all available. LinkedIn, tell me where, if you do this all in one shot, it's viral. It will go viral. So who says that it's difficult? It's not difficult. Today, defaming a person or seeking justice through proper messaging is possible. Both.
Ma'am, I hear you, but I'm finding it. I hear you, but I'm finding it difficult to process this, because in case after case, we've seen it's been girls who are minors. We've seen girls who have come from economically weaker sections. There have been girls who've got admission to these colleges, etc., on quota. They have fought really hard to be where they are, and then to be facing this under broad daylight in a place like Delhi, in the national capital, in affluent places. And like I said, where is the North Star that any of these babas go punished? They're out on parole half the time.
There are legal forums. There are a lot of NGOs which are doing legal proactivism. I think, why not tap them? But as I said, there is no shortcut. Use the social media for justice. And for such cases, your best bet is social media. And if you have evidence, put it. Don't be afraid, because you are not defaming anybody. You're basing it on evidence. And you can be a larger group, and you can also be, in that case, protect yourself. But I said tag them to powers that be, and they have no choice. Had they tagged the, let's say, mygov.in, mygov.in is PM's portal. Mygov.in, and every grievance sent to mygov.in gets registered and goes to the right organizations and right departments, and then action is asked for and it comes on record. Why? What's the big deal about this? Emailing? What about group emailing? What about group emailing? What are they afraid of? So I think they not use the communication tools. Waking up one day, 16 of them, and they were afraid earlier. No, I think they too were probably benefiting. I'm sorry to say that, but they could be. They can't say हम डर रहे थे. अरे फेसबुक पे तो रोज फोन करते होंगे आप सब कुछ जानते हो सोशल मीडिया में आजकल today's generation knows everything how to use the social media. Why can't social media be used for getting justice to themselves?
All right, Dr. Kiran Bedi over there, thank you so much for joining us with your thoughts. I have to say, don't quite agree with what she's saying over there. It is not easy for victims to always report. We've seen that in case after case. That's why committees are formed. And I think the responsibility must also rest with these institutes who bring people on board as directors, who bring people. There were cameras for all of you that were found in their washrooms, in their changing rooms, in their places where they used to sleep. And the access to all those cameras were also found with this guy, this man on your screen over there who posed to be a Baba. So clearly there's a larger web and everybody needs to be questioned very clearly. But let's take a pause for a minute and go back, because if you haven't heard the gory details on the story just yet, well, you should see this report.
It is Delhi's saga of shame. Chaitanyanand, Delhi's monster Baba, who allegedly molested at least 17 young students at his institute, has been nabbed by cops. But more skeletons continue to tumble out of his closet. India Today has now accessed his shocking sex chats that investigators say expose his predatory behavior. In one chat, he asks the girl if she will sleep with him, while in another, he says that a sheikh from Dubai wants a sex partner and even asks the student if a classmate or a junior might be available. The self-styled godman flooded his victims with sleazy lines.
Now, in the chats, you can see he used to call them baby. Baby, baby, where are you? Good morning, baby. These are the kind of messages that the molester Baba used to send the students, the girls through on chats. And the most important message that you need to see is that you will not sleep with me. This is the kind of language and the kind of messages that were sent by this self-styled godman to young girls. Will you not sleep with me? Good evening, my most beloved baby daughter, is how he used to call these girls, is how he used to address these girls.
Cops now suspect that the self-styled godman may be involved in sex trafficking. His texts where he revealed pimping for wealthy Dubai sheikhs are now under the police scanner.
ये कई उससे दिखता है कि ये बातें कई महिलाओं से कर रहे हैं जो कि नहीं लगता कि कोई प्रोफेशनल बातें हैं, पर्सनल बातें हैं, और जैसे कि फ़ोटो भी हैं कई एयर होस्टेस के साथ या जहाज़ में जब बैठे हैं नॉर्मल वे पे, और कई उन बच्चों ने इनको अपना बायोडाटा भी भेज रखा है कि नौकरी लगवाने के बहाने से इन्होंने उनसे बातचीत शुरू की होगी। तो वैसे अलग अलग बहाने से जिसकी जो प्रॉब्लम हो उस तरह से कहते होंगे कि मैं सबको पहचानता हूँ, जान पहचान है, मैं आपकी प्रॉब्लम हल करा दूंगा। तो उस बेस पे ये उनसे अपना बातचीत शुरू करते होंगे। वैसा इनका वो जो एक कंडक्ट होता है वो दिखता है।
As probe continues, Delhi police have now taken Chaitanyanand to his institute along with one of his women aides. This bone-chilling case has exposed how female students in some of Delhi's reputed educational institutes remain vulnerable to sexual exploitation. With Arvind Oja and Anjali Pandey, Bureau Report, India Today.
All right, let's take this story forward with our guest joining us now. Partha Gupta, child rights activist, is with us. Also with us is Brinda. She's a women's rights activist over there. Brinda, first to you. I was just talking to Dr. Kiran Bedi. I don't know if you heard that interview over there right before you guys joined in. And I was trying to understand that, it's difficult. My understanding is that it's difficult for women to come out and report, especially when you've seen cases after cases, report after report, eyewitness after eyewitness backing off in other cases. There is terror, there is fear, there is shaming that takes place. And frankly, as a reporter, reporting so many of these stories over the years, it frustrates me that stories like these still continue to happen. When there are cameras found inside washrooms, etc. So I'll ask you straight, what do you think in these cases, who is to be blamed first? It's not just the criminal, it's a system that supports the criminal as well. It's these colleges where he's roped in as directors. It's these ashrams that are running a full system backing in a molestation.
You're absolutely right. It is a complete system. But we also want to hold the state accountable because the state has got some laws. They expect that these institutions, especially educational institutions, have to comply with certain norms. Now, why has there not been any compliance? Is there posh in this particular organization, institution? Has there a background check been done of a person who's being brought into the institution where there are children and young people and women? So the institution is to be held accountable. We rarely see that in India, especially, like you mentioned, so many cases that you've also reported. How many times have we seen educational institution management or the principal or those in charge actually being booked, penalized, and punished? Very, very rarely. You cannot even count on your fingers. That means the state has not been keeping track of these things. The state is not monitoring. And let us also keep in mind that all educational institutions have some kind of political patronage, a lot of power and influence and connections. And that is why police also might find it very difficult to register cases. But everything said and done, we are a deeply patriarchal society. We do not make space for any of our girls and our children to come out and talk. We do not, as a community and family, also give that courage to our children to say, come out and speak about it, because you are the brave one. We never do that. We always try and place the blame on the vulnerable victims where they have not had a choice. They are not in a position of power. They are very vulnerable. And these people make use of that vulnerability.
Yeah. Partha is also with us. Partha, what shocked me and disgusted me, frankly, the most about the story is the fact that this was not happening in some back of the beyond village in Rajasthan or Haryana or Madhya Pradesh or someplace. This happened in Delhi. This was happening right under our nose. This was patched in with an educational institution. He figured out in Delhi not many people are coming to this ashram of his, so he will go to an institute, affiliate his name, and it's just, I don't even know. Is there a way to sort of get down on these people and understand why? Is there time that we question the institute as much as we question the Baba here?
You see, the case, the concept here is actually we are lacking safe spaces. When we talk about hostels, educational institutions, you are rightly, you have mentioned that these institutions, they are imparting, they're opened and without any regulation. Most of them are without any regulations where children are staying, specifically in hostels. You see, in CRY, when we are working with the child rights and protection, the JJ Act is there for the children below the age of 18, and JJ Act has mandated that the all the institutions, childcare institutions, must be registered under JJ Act. But there is, all the hostels are out of the purview of JJ Act. So what is happening? There is no mandatory audits are there. Nobody is going and checking how these institutions are managing themselves. What is the situation of the children over there? And you know, when anybody who is studying, they are not so well equipped to express themselves also. And maybe children who comes to these type of institutions, they have their own baggage. Maybe they are from very underprivileged classes. So they are afraid to speak out. And
they're afraid to speak up. That's exactly my point. But Partha, I was talking to Kiran Bedi a little while ago, and she seems to believe that girls are to be blamed as much. She seems to believe that we should be asking them if they have benefited in some way. She seems to believe that why did it take so long for them to come out? I'm finding that argument a little disturbing, to be honest.
Yes, yes. Actually, here in this type of institute also, I would like to add that we as a community, as a society, also need to come out of blind faith first of all, and go for respected and accountable transparency. Sometimes what is happening in this type of institutions, they are taking the advantage of the faith that people puts in them, and the children become the most vulnerable. So here we have to ensure that as a community, as a society also, we need to ensure that wherever we are putting our children, there should be a transparent accountability of the whoever is involved. And that's why we always promote that safeguarding policies should be in place for every organization.
Yeah, but how much of it is really followed, Partha? How much of it is really sort of seen on ground? You know, Brinda, come in on this point. You know, I feel
how much it is followed.
All of this was accessible on his WhatsApp chat. All of these chats are now available with the police. He was doing it with no fear of law. He was clearly doing it for years ago. This is perhaps just the tip of the iceberg. He must have been part of so many other institutes that we don't even know of. So many other places where he's met girls, where he's promised jobs or education or travel or anything, luring them with just any kind of freedom in the name of assault. So how do we even get down to people like these? Because like I said, there is no confidence left that the law will take these people to justice, that the law will actually punish them.
Yes, that is another part.
Let Brinda respond, please. Let Brinda respond.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it is the management and the institution that must be held most accountable, because they are the ones who are extending that confidence and trust to the parents to say that your children are safe with us. And if these management and institutions are not held accountable, you cannot, it's unfair and incorrect to place the burden on the children and say, why haven't you reported? Why did you take so long? We adult women ourselves find it so difficult to report even the smallest of sexual harassment on the street. How will the children talk about it? Because as a society, we don't talk about these things and we place the burden on the victim and the survivor. So it is very difficult for us to all the time come forward. But that said, there are laws and there are policies and guidelines which the state is not monitoring. Every institution is supposed to have a child protection policy. Do they have it? Why don't they have it? It's supposed to have counselors. Are the counselors there open, neutral, and not intimidated by any powers that be in the institution, so the children can come and talk to them? So these are all things that I will hold the state accountable for and all the duty bearers.
Yep. Well, I must say that this is just one of the cases, and I'm sure not the last we've heard. To anybody else, I can only say, and perhaps end this segment on that note, if you know of someone who's facing any kind of coercive, sort of coaxed into a situation like this, if you are yourself being coaxed into a compromising position, please speak up. Please get in touch with people, talk about it, post about it, get help, because this is no way to live. And we've got to unmask them. You don't need to be afraid. We need to expose all of them. That's what's important. So please, if anybody is watching right now and can even take an iota of inspiration, please do. Whatever little can be done will be done, and you need to get out of that web. We'll take a quick break on that note. Thank you, Brinda and Partha, for joining us with the very latest on that. It's health o'clock now, and parents who constantly give cough syrups to kids, well, this next story is for you. 2 children have died, one in Sikar, one in Bharatpur, both in the state of Rajasthan, both after taking a government-supplied cough syrup containing dextromethorphan hydrobromide. You'll hear that word a lot today. In Sikar, what happened? It was a 5-year-old who had developed a regular cough. His mother took him to the nearby CHC. Under the state government's free medicine scheme, he was prescribed a syrup and given a dose at 11:30 p.m. Around 3:30 in the morning, he started getting hiccups, and by morning, he did not wake up. In the hospital, when he was taken, he was declared dead. In Bharatpur, a 3-year-old, Gagan, was also given the same syrup at a government health center. Within hours, he became unconscious, his heartbeat slowed, and he was though rushed to the hospital nearby on a ventilator, but it was too late. He didn't make it as well. Shockingly, even the community health officer who tested the syrup on himself after having given it to the child, on hearing these complaints that were coming in, he also fell ill. Now, after these reports, the Rajasthan government has banned this specific batch of syrup and ordered an investigation. All government hospitals have been told to stop its supply and distribution. But that leaves a more basic, urgent question. What exactly is this dextrometorphan hydrobromide? And do your kids really need it? This is generally called DM. If you pick up a cough syrup bottle at home, pick it up, see its ingredient list, you'll probably see the word DM mentioned in it. That's what it is. It is one of the most common ingredients in the over-the-counter cough syrups that all of us end up going for. It's a cough suppressant. It works by acting on the brain's cough center to reduce the urge to cough, mainly when you have a dry cough, a hacking cough that doesn't really produce any mucus, doesn't have phlegm. Now, chemically, it's a salt of the dextromorphin, which makes it easier to dissolve in the liquid medicines. That's why very commonly used. You'll find DM in popular Indian brands like Benadryl, Corex, Escorex, Cofol. Most of these are available over the counter, no prescription even needed, and that's part of the problem as well. Now, what's the world regulators really saying on this story? In 2007, the US FDA had issued a public warning saying do not use cough and cold medications with any form of DM in it in children under 2 years. The risk, they pointed out, was serious side effects like hallucinations, slowed breathing, even death if the dose was too high. Later, the FDA expanded that warning to children under 4, do not have DM. The CDC went a step further. It guided, and I quote there, it said, cough and cold medicines are not safe or even effective in children younger than 6 years and should never be given to infants younger than 2. The American Academy of Pediatricians, they also agree. They are urging parents to not give cough syrups to children under 6 because they simply don't work well and can cause serious harm. But despite all of this, in India, many of these syrups are still sold freely, over the counter, given to young kids without medical guidance. Often, when even the doctor is telling you not to give, we end up giving. So yes, the system is trying to respond, but the deaths in Rajasthan raise the same old concern really on cough syrups. Do our kids really need cough syrups? Now, most coughs in children, especially under 6, they are viral, they are self-limiting, and they don't require medication. Giving them strong medication doesn't really help much. It can actually do more harm, especially when the product is contaminated or misused, which is clearly the matter in this case. So maybe it's also, after this story, don't panic. Instead of asking which cough syrup to give, the question you should be asking is, do we really need a cough syrup? Again, this is all information that we have gathered after speaking to the country's best pediatricians, but ask your pediatrician what is his advice on the matter. But then the question here is very simple. In the case of these deaths, it was clearly a matter of adulteration. The cough syrups, they obviously have a controversial past. They continue to be debated. At the moment, this is the case of the company in question that we are flagging on your screen right now. It's called K. Sons Pharma. And after doing a bit of gigging, sort of digging around on this matter, we learned that they are in fact repeat offenders. Documents which have been reviewed by India Today, they show very clearly that this Jaipur-based drug maker supplied substandard drugs to government hospitals in Rajasthan at least at 2 occasions earlier and was also penalized. Once in 2023 and then in February of 2025 for violation in the Drugs Act. But despite that, it continues to be used for the poorest of poor in the country, in the most inaccessible places, in the places where the education on health, on medicine is very, very poor, and they continue to take lives. Let me quickly cut across on this story to our reporter who's actually tracking all this story and tracking all the latest on the story as well. All right, Sharad is with us. Sharad, हमें थोड़ा बताएंगे, हमने अब वो पेपर्स देखे हैं जिसमें केसेंस फार्मर को बोला गया है, एक बार नहीं 2 बार, 2000 2023 में और 2025 फरवरी में भी कि इनके जो बैच निकले थे कफ सिरप्स के वो अडल्टरेटेड थे, वो मैच नहीं कर पाए स्टैंडर्ड्स, लेकिन उसके बाद भी वो इन अस्पतालों में क्या कर रहे थे, क्यों ये बैचेस निकले?
सोनल, देखिए 2 दिन से जो मैं लगातार इसके जांच पड़ताल में लगा हुआ हूं, मेरी समझ में आया है कि ये फैक्ट्री मालिक, कंपनी मालिक जो हैं वीरेंद्र कुमार गुप्ता और जो यहाँ ड्रग कंट्रोलर हैं, उनकी अच्छी खासी सांठ-गांठ है इस पूरे मामले में। ये बहुत अच्छे ढंग से एक दूसरे को जानते हैं। जो फैक्ट्री विजिट की मैंने, उस फैक्ट्री को विजिट करने के बाद ऐसा लगा नहीं कि वहां पर बहुत स्टैंडर्ड की अच्छी दवाएं वहां मिल रही हों। वहां पर गार्ड तक बदल दिया है, ताला लगा दिया है और सब लोग चले गए हैं। जब हमने फोन पर बातचीत करने की कोशिश की मालिक से, तो उन्होंने कहा कि हम 3 दिन के लिए छुट्टी पर हैं, आप बाद में आइएगा, हम आपसे बातचीत करें। उन्होंने वही प्लिया दिया जो यहाँ पर अधिकारी दे रहे हैं कि डॉक्टरों की गलती है, उन्होंने ओवरडोज दे दिया बच्चों को। तो हमने कहा ठीक है, बच्चों को दे दिया, डॉक्टर पिया वो भी बेहोश हो गया, वो कैसे हो गया? 10 से ज्यादा केस आ चुके हैं, बहुत ज्यादा तो रिपोर्टेड भी नहीं हुए, बांसवाड़ा जैसे इलाकों में तो रिपोर्टेड भी नहीं हुए हैं। देखिए कहानी क्या हो रही है कफ सिरप की, कि ये नशा के लिए भी बड़ी संख्या में फार्मा कंपनियां सप्लाई कर रही हैं और जो ड्रग कंट्रोलर हैं वो जांच नहीं कर रहे हैं। अब सरकारी सप्लाई के लिए आप देख लीजिए, सरकारी सप्लाई के लिए 2023 में इसकी जांच हुई और एक कप सिरप को कह दिया गया कि अमानक है, लेकिन सरकारी सप्लाई के लिए बैन होता है, बाजार के लिए बैन नहीं होता है। ड्रग कंट्रोलर राजस्थान में बिक्री के लिए बैन नहीं करते हैं, केवल सरकारी सप्लाई के लिए बैन करते हैं। तो एक तरह से देखा जा सकता है कि किस तरह से यहाँ पर कप सिरप के नाम पर ये गोरख धंधा कई तरह से चल रहा है। एक ही कंपनी जब बार बार एक दवा को गलत बना रही है तो दूसरे साल से आप क्यों इजाजत देते हो? तो वो कह रहे हैं कि नहीं नहीं, हमारी डिबार का आप रूल देख लो, 8 पन्ने का कागज मुझे पकड़ा दिए कि इसमें तो लिखा हुआ है कि 5 साल से 1 साल तक किसी एक साल को बार कर सकते हैं, कंपनी को नहीं बार करनी है। हमने कहा कि सबसे मिनिमम आपने चुना 1 साल के, और 1 साल के अंदर फिर आपने देना भी शुरू कर दिया। तो कुल मिलाकर जो कुछ मुझे लग रहा है कि जिस तरह से वो भागा है, फैक्ट्री बंद की है, गार्ड तक बदल दिया है, यहाँ पर अधिकारी बचने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं, नियम कानून में उलझा रहे हैं, डॉक्टर को फंसा रहे हैं कि नहीं वो उसको डोज देने नहीं आया। तो ऐसा लग रहा है कहीं ना कहीं कि ये जो छोटी छोटी कंपनियां हैं जिसके जरिए सरकारी सिस्टम में सप्लाई हो रही है, ये इस सिस्टम का हिस्सा हैं, इस सिस्टम का हिस्सा हैं। भरतपुर की घटना 4 दिन पहले की है सोनल, सीकर की मौत हुई है परसों। यानी कि अगर सरकार चाहती, प्रशासन चाहता तो इसको पहले से रोका जा सकता था। जो बच्चे अस्पताल में पहुंचे हैं, जेके लोन में तो 7-8 दिन पहले पहुंच चुके थे, तो कहीं ना कहीं लिपापोती की कोशिश भी जारी रही। जी,
एक्सीलेंट रिपोर्टिंग शरद, आपने बहुत अच्छे से समझा दिया है कि ये पूरा मामला क्या है। और क्योंकि सरकार, आप क्लियरली बता रहे हैं दैट दे आर हैंड इन ग्लव, और इसमें बच्चों की मौत हो रही है और उसके बारे में भी उनको कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ रहा है। और अभी आप कह रहे हैं कि जो फार्मा कंपनी के ओनर हैं वो भागे हुए हैं, तो इस पर सरकार क्या करेगी, इस पर ज़रूर नज़र लगाए रखें और हमें अपडेट ज़रूर भेजते रहें कि क्या हो क्या रहा है इस पूरे इशू पर। Let's move on from this story to actually bring you another perspective. So this is clearly an issue of adulteration, a very serious issue of adulteration, which we will keep tracking. But the larger story emerging from this entire, the news that came in is also of the abuse of cough syrups that is going on all over. Let me bring in Dr. Sanjeev Bagai. He's a senior consultant pediatrician and chairman at the Nephron Clinic, and Dr. Rajiv Seth is also with us. Dr. Sanjeev Bagai, it's shocking, it tears my heart that this is corruption taking away lives of young kids. But let's leave that for a moment aside. I was speaking to pediatricians while doing the research for the story, and they said, Sonal, you know what? Even when we tell parents not to give cough syrups, they go and they purchase from the chemist and they sort of give it to the child without even taking our consideration. So there is a massive movement required to say that we don't need cough syrups until the age of 6. I just read it out in front of everybody as well, from CDC to FDA to any of the credible, bodies which are monitoring. They will say cough syrups actually don't do anything. Wouldn't you agree?
Good evening. So 2 quick parts to your story. One is, of course, is the issue of use of antitussives, which we call as cough syrups. Unfortunately, in India, most of the cough syrups are being used rampantly. Even up to, in some studies, 87% of the prescriptions in the pediatric and infant age group contain some sort of cough syrups. The second is this industry is booming. It's already reached a 1.6 billion industry, and frankly speaking, on the ground, the attitude is no one cares. The one of the most unregulated sectors of Indian healthcare, which affects the doctors as a medical fraternity and clinical outcomes, is the chemist and the pharma outlets, which
Yeah.
actually sell these without a prescription and without a valid dated prescription. With regards to use on and the indications of the cough syrups help in specific indications provided it is used in a calculated dose under medical monitoring. Unfortunately, when patients repeat the prescriptions and the child does not recover from one dose, they tend to give a second dose at a quicker interval, or they combine it with another cough syrup, hoping and anticipating and praying to God that the cough may go away without actually wondering what the etiology of the cause is. That means the cause. With regards to contamination, this is a clear breach of trust, failure in system of processes, failure of quality control. This is the contaminant which causes acute kidney injury. It causes
Yeah.
crystals in the kidney, and the children die very quickly within 36 hours. But cough syrups require regulation. They require monitoring. It's not that cough syrups are not used at all in the pediatric age group. They are used, but under a particular calculated dose, under medical supervision, and with a follow-up check on how the child is doing.
Okay, Dr. Rajiv Seth is also with us. Dr. Seth, then just taking off from what Dr. Bagai said, under what circumstances would you give cough syrup at all to kids below 6?
Well, how about I start? When should we give cough syrups? Beginning when the baby is just born. Right from newborn to 1 year, say a period of life which is called infancy, there's no indication for giving any cough syrup. Usually these small babies are obligate nose breathers. They need nasal saline salt solutions to clean their nose. And if they can be sucked out and cleaned, majority they can be in steam as an inhalation safely, and that is all they would need. And only in certain situations and circumstances when the nose congestion actually travels down into the lungs, leading to a reactive airway disease or bronchial this thing, we need an expectorant, not a suppressant even at that stage. So till about 2 years, dextromethorphan, which has been listed in your listing, has not been recommended by US FDA. It is not to be used rampantly. And the problem is that the children are seen not just by pediatricians, they are seen by any qualified or not so qualified doctors. There are probably more untrained doctors around, and there are registered medical practitioners. If you go in smaller towns and cities, and Chitwara you mentioned, in those they don't have qualified doctors. Registered medical practitioners, the number is more than the police force. So essentially so many doctors, so many people giving these various cough suppressants is not to be used.
Dr. Bagai, then what about stuff like Ambrodril, which is given very often, but that's the case when you have a cough with phlegm, right? I just want to educate any parent watching right now, any grandparent watching right now, that there are different kind of coughs. In the dry cough situation, you don't use anything at all. But if you have a wet cough, in those situations, what should one reach out to? From what I understand, Ambrodril-esque kind of things are given when you just want to loosen the phlegm. Is that correct?
I wish pediatrics and medical science was as easy that we could tell the parents what to do on a television program, but
We can
fortunately
try.
so it is not. Okay. Now, on a more serious note, so I think cough syrup should only be used, bullet points only should be used under medical indication under advice of a qualified pediatrician. Very often, adult physicians or GPs are not as well qualified to treat children. Point number
Okay.
two, the cough syrups often are coming in combinations not only of cough suppressants, but very often with bronchodilators. That means derivatives of salbutamol or salmeterol, which are used more for wheezing and bronchitis and other kind of indications like asthma. So combination cough syrups are very dangerous because the dose calculations becomes a huge mess. Point number three, combination of cough syrups. That means very often parents tend to use 2 cough syrups at a time, which becomes very counterproductive. Point number 4, these are calculated with regards body weight, and very often children also are receiving other medications like antibiotics or fever medicine. So we have to be careful of the end organ damage. That means we have to take care that the liver and the kidneys are not affected with overuse of these medications. Again, as a summary, over-the-counter cough syrup, especially in smaller children without medical supervision, is pure hazardous.
Pure hazardous. Let me quickly give the last word to the other doctor as well. Dr. Seth, what would you say? Parents not to use cough syrups at all? What about the Ayurveda ones? What about the ones which have honey and ginger in it? Is that to be given, or that's also just not to be touched upon at all?
No, I would say that if your child is having cough, you need to see your doctor. A cough is just a presenting symptoms for something very sinister sometimes, and it could not be just due to upper respiratory or lower respiratory. It could be other factors also. And a doctor needs to clearly examine your child. Like I said, in a small baby, the nose blockage itself can lead to cough, and therefore the steam or nasal inhalational routes, or if the child gets really bronchospastic cough, where you need to give a bronchodilator like salbutamol, a doctor is the best person to know what the dosages are, and then it is to be expect the suppressants of cough, as has been used here, should never be given to smaller children.
All right. And I think as a takeaway, I would like to leave the audience thinking about it. You know, we as Indians pop pills, take medicines like it's, like Tic Tac, like gems. That's not how it's supposed to work. Every medicine, if it helps, it also has a side effect. We just don't know. In India, it's great that we have access to great medical health care, affordable health care, but that does not mean that we'll abuse it, because that's clearly beginning to show an effect on our bodies, and we got to be very careful, especially in the case of kids. Dr. Seth, Dr. Bagai, thank you so much both for joining us on this very, very important discussion.